Himanshu, you may start.
Right. Good evening, everyone. It was very good to see some teachers here from DPS Hinjawadi as well. DPS Hinjawadi, this is the first time that we're joining for an EI session. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, hopefully, we'll all learn a lot from you and we'll also be able to discuss and discover some new concepts which probably we've learned during the previous sessions and they'll be a first time for us. So, good evening, everyone. For everyone who's new and who doesn't know me, my name is Imanshu Santani. I have been with EI for the last 5 years now. I take care of their academics wing for Maharashtra and some parts of Gujarat and Goa as well. Today's agenda for meeting all of you is to discuss what are the basic guidelines for creating multiple choice questions. We've met some of you all before, and we've also discussed how to create free response questions, which we commonly call as subjective questions. And we also discussed as to what is Bloom's taxonomy and how can we create effective questions using Bloom's taxonomy. We're also now just taking this a step forward and we're focusing on how to create good multiple choice questions. Before moving up ahead, a very simple question to all of you. Why is so much focus on creating good questions or good assessments? क्यों ज़रूरी है? पहला तो ज़रूरी है कि नहीं है. सेकंड, अगर ज़रूरी है तो क्यों ज़रूरी है? This is the third time I'm taking everyone's time for all the teachers. आपको अपनी चेकिंग छोड़ के, घर के काम छोड़ के ये सेशन अटेंड करना पड़ रहा है on how to create a good multiple choice question or a good question. Why is this important? Anyone?
Dear team, you can respond by typing in the chat box or raising hand and sharing.
Sir, good questions challenges students to, like it challenges student to have more of critical thinking,
Okay.
and in a way, like it also helps us to understand like how much the student knows.
Okay. A good question will tell you how much the student knows. What else? To assess the student's understanding and enhancing their learning. Okay. We're basically talking on the same similar lines. So every kind of learner, we get to know whether what we're teaching is correct or wrong. Okay. People who've raised your hands, I cannot see if you've raised your hand. So you can please unmute and speak.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that importance of good questioning is for accurate assessment, also to promote critical thinkers, and also it is good for fair evaluation as well.
Okay, it's good for fair evaluation. Taken. What is critical thinking? If anybody can guide me through a little bit. I think everyone is saying that critical skills develop only agar we have a good question. What is critical thinking?
Sir, may I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, according to me, I think critical thinking is if I am teaching some concept to children, and if I ask some questions that where they can apply this knowledge to their real life, I think that is their critical thinking. If they are applying their learning to their real life conditions or something like that.
Right, perfect, bang on. So, if whatever we are teaching them, they are being able to apply it, they are being able to analyze it, they are being able to use the knowledge to create something new. If the student is being able to use the knowledge that he has acquired from when he was in the classroom with the teacher, it's great. It's what we are trying to achieve. And how does an assessment help in this matter? 2 points that we understood from the crowd, that yes, one, A, we'll be able to understand as to whether what we've taught, whether the students have understood or no. That is why a good question is needed. Second, we'll be able to understand as to exactly which level or where the student is standing. Second, we can use a good question to influence and understand, basically, so to stimulate the learning and thinking of the student, we can use a good question. We can use good questions to distinguish between mechanical learning and competency based learning, and we can use good questions to diagnose misconceptions and common errors. We all spoke on similar lines. We all basically highlighted the fact that good questions distinguish mechanical learning with understanding. Rote को critical से define करने के लिए we need a good question. I think this is something that everyone was bang on. Two other points which today's session would majorly focus on will be how good questions can diagnose misconceptions and common errors. What are misconceptions? Whenever we teach in class, like I could see in the chat also, some of us had written, whenever we are teaching in the class, some students will understand 100%, some students will understand 80%, some students 60%. Every student is learning at his or her own pace. Now, to understand how much has a student understood, we need a good question. What does the normal question do? It tells us that the student has understood yes or no. What does a good question do? It tells us exactly what the student knows and what the student doesn't know. And another aspect which we will be focusing on today will be on how good questions can influence students to learn and stimulate thinking. So assessments is not only the end of learning. For us majorly, अगर मैं आप में से किसी को भी कहूँ कि स्कूल में क्या होता है उसका एक मैप बनाओ, तो हम सब यही करेंगे कि स्कूल में आते हैं, टीचर पढ़ाती है, एग्जाम होता है, हम पास आउट हो जाते हैं एंड हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में चले जाते हैं. बट assessment is not an end to learning. It only starts your learning or it only stimulates your learning. So how assessment can be used to ensure that students are learning better? They're actually focusing on what things they don't know. How can that be done through questions is something that we'll try and cover in today's session. Now, we in a sense discussed of why good assessments or good questions in assessments are required. But today's agenda or today's topic was only on MCQ based questions. Majorly when I go to a school and meet them for the first time, teachers' only idea or introspection about a multiple choice question is कि बच्चे तो टिक कर लेते हैं, वो क्वेश्चन पढ़ते ही नहीं है, रैंडम आंसर्स दे देते हैं. It's easier to cope with multiple choice questions. ये सारे पॉइंट्स हमने भी फेस किए हुए होंगे. So then why are multiple choice questions actually important? Are they important or are they not important? If they are important, then why? If anybody has an answer, can please unmute and speak. If you have raised your hands, I will not be able to see. I'll just repeat the question. हमने अच्छे क्वेश्चंस क्यों जरूरी है इसके बारे में बात की, बट अच्छे क्वेश्चंस एमसीक्यू होने चाहिए क्या कि सिर्फ सब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चंस, फ्री रिस्पांस क्वेश्चंस आर इनफ? फर्स्ट आई वुड लाइक टू टेक एवरीवन्स ओपिनियन ऑन दिस. Anybody, you can write down in the chat, you can unmute and speak.
नमस्ते सर. सर एमसीक्यूज जो होते हैं उसमें बच्चों की एक्यूरेट अंडरस्टैंडिंग समझ में आती है. मतलब प्रश्न पढ़ेगा बच्चा, चारों ऑप्शन पढ़ेगा और सही विकल्प का चयन करेगा, तो इसमें भी वो अपने बौद्धिक क्षमता का विकास नहीं कर रहा है.
ओके, और क्या वो ये सारी चीजें एक सब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चन में नहीं कर सकता?
कर सकता है, लेकिन सब्जेक्टिव में बच्चे के लिए मतलब ऐसा उसको हम अगर गाइडलाइन दे कि ये मुख्य बिंदु है, ये आने चाहिए, तो शायद जो एक्सपेक्टेड आंसर है वो निकल सकता है. लेकिन एमसीक्यू में उसको किसी कंसेप्ट का एकदम अच्छी तरह से नॉलेज होना बहुत जरूरी है, तभी वो एक विकल्प का चयन सही कर सकता है.
परफेक्ट मैम, एकदम सही जवाब दिया आपने. कि सब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चंस में हमें एक जेनरिक आइडिया मिल जाती है कि बच्चों को कितना आता है और कितना नहीं आता है, बट ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चंस में या एमसीक्यू टाइप क्वेश्चंस में आप एग्जैक्टली पता लगा पाओगे कि क्या पेन पॉइंट है और कहाँ पे बच्चों को इम्प्रूव करने की ज़रूरत है. We have someone who's mentioned in the chat also, MCQs can be mind-boggling and encourage critical thinking. To choose the correct one, subjective can go haywire, but MCQ demands justification. Uh, Demands precision. I'm so sorry. Lupo Pudra ma'am, how can MCQs be mind-boggling if you can put some light over the same place?
So mind-boggling in this sense, like at times, what happens in MCQ, the answers are so very close that a student needs to be very precise when he is choosing the correct answer. When I'm answering a subjective one, I can go berserk and here and there, maybe I can add few lines on my own. But MCQ is to the point when my concept is very clear, then only I can answer one, what I feel, sir.
Right. So are we in a way trying to say that MCQs are a little more confusing than the subjective answers to answer?
Not confusing, but I guess when your concept is very clear, then only I can attempt MCQ once.
Right. Uh, Totally. I guess I got the message incorrect, and that's why I asked for a clarification. So exactly, I think what Ma'am Lopamudra Ma'am also has to say makes total sense. That an MCQ based questions need exact, precise knowledge. Only if you have that exact, precise knowledge, then only will you be able to answer an MCQ based questions. In a subjective type question or in a free response type question, there is a higher possibility that you'll add your own words. If you don't know the exact concept, you'll try to use your words to cover up those concepts. You will somehow miss out on the crux that we are trying to assess, in which case MCQs are more important. So let's just see. MCQ child has to have knowledge of all the options properly. Exactly. So Pradhan ma'am says that in MCQ the child should have the knowledge of all the options properly. Exactly, and this is why putting in the correct options in an MCQ question is also very important. We'll discuss this in detail up ahead also, but Pradhan ma'am, that's a very good point. That to answer an MCQ based question, the child does not only need to understand the question, but he needs to understand all the options as well. So let's see how the child can use this. Just to sum it all up, MCQs can be used for focused diagnosis, like we discussed, that we can target and find out exactly where uh, the problem is and what the student knows, what the student doesn't know. MCQs can cover a broader range of content and concepts within the limited time frame. So in a 2-hour paper, if you're giving 5-mark questions only and the students have to write for 2 marks, how many questions will be able to give? Anyone? It's been a very long time since I haven't prepared for a school assessment. एक मान लीजिए कि एक सब्जेक्टिव पेपर बना रहे हैं, उसमें हमें 2 घंटे का एग्जाम है हमारा, हमें सिर्फ 5 मार्क्स के क्वेश्चंस पूछने हैं. हम कितने क्वेश्चंस पूछ पाएंगे? Anyone? I'm sure we
So,
have a
sir,
lot
you
of
were saying
experienced teachers.
you're saying that we are going to ask each question of only 5 marks. Is that the question?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the question.
Okay. And the maximum marks for the paper is?
There is no limit on the maximum marks, but the duration is 2 hours.
And
How
the
many
age group?
questions? Let's say class 6 to 8. Maybe 5 questions, 4 to 5 questions, 7 to 19 questions. That's a very big gap. Let's consider it 7 to 10 questions, hardly 6 to 8 questions, 7 to 10 questions. So not more than 10 questions. Now 10 questions when we are asking, we are able to judge or assess only 10 concepts. Now just imagine we are taking the same test in an MCQ format. How many concepts will now we be able to analyze if again the age group remains the same, 6 to 8 तक के बच्चे के लिए लेना है test and we have a 2-hour duration. we can at least minimal ask 150 to 170 questions. So just imagine the kind of domain or horizon that you're increasing for the students when you're asking for a multiple choice question. That is why you'll see that in almost all the competitive based examinations, in your NEET preparations, in your RJS, in all the examinations, you get only multiple choice questions and not free response questions. The third aspect is you will be able to see a clarity in responses. Like Lupamudra ma'am also mentioned that exactly what the student knows, what options is he aware of, it will be focused and you'll be able to know his clearer answer. It is easier to diagnose. So MCQ questions are also easier to diagnose because when we say diagnose, it's not that हमारे लिए checking में easy हो जाएगा. But ये पता लगाने में, to find out exactly which skill is the student lacking on, is something that can be used. Like Pradhan ma'am said, that options can also be created in such a way where exactly we figure out that the student doesn't only knows the question, but he also knows the options as well. And it helps us to reduce the test anxiety. If tomorrow, and just try this in classroom, tomorrow if you go to your class and say that we are taking a test and it's going to be a MCQ test, students are comparatively more confident in giving MCQ based questions because this seemingly look easier. However, when we say that it's a free response question test, most of them are scared or they're hesitant. So considering all these aspects is when even CBSE decided that, we should include some MCQ based questions in our assessments also. Because tomorrow for all the competitive exams, students have to write MCQ based questions. So why not start including them in our syllabus, in our blueprints as well? So these are why MCQ based questions are important. Also, CBSE has now mandated that competency based questions are to be increased, considering which uh, MCQs are now important and we'll be talking about them. Now, for everyone, I'm sure हम ये सब जानते हैं but इसके terms हमें नहीं पता है. So just to update everyone on what they are called, the question of an MCQ, जिसमें क्वेश्चन होता है, जिसमें इमेज होती है, जिसमें ग्राफ मेंशन्ड होता है, that is called the stem. It's called the stem of a question. The options, we are all knowing कि options क्या होते हैं. The options are further divided into two parts: the key, which is the correct answer, and the distractors, which are the other options. How many of you have heard this word distractor before in uh, in the context of assessments? Okay. Ekta ma'am has raised their hand. Surajna ma'am has heard. Pallami ma'am has heard. Anyone, if can explain what is a distractor and how is it different from just an option?
May I say, sir?
Please.
So a distractor is named thus because another ma'am was also saying that the options are very close to each other. So they are so distracting that the person appearing for the exam is actually distracted and can't make up one's mind which one should be the right answer. So that's why they are called distractors.
Exactly. So going forward, whenever we are creating our MCQs, one thing that we need to keep in mind is that apart from the STEM options and the correct answer, which is something that we all know, one thing which we will focus on will be that how can the distractors be put in correctly in a way that when the students try to answer this question, and if they are not 100% clear about that concept, they should not be able to answer. This is the role of a distractor. Is this important in an MCQ question? Yes. This holds the maximum importance because if the question is very direct or it's very open-ended, so let's just say, सबसे ज़्यादा in which city or in which country are the temperatures the highest across the world? And if the options are, for example, Brazil, Africa, Australia, and let's just say India, it is very clear as to what is the correct answer. However, if all the options are revolving around one another, it becomes difficult for the students to answer the question. So they exactly need to know in which country what the temperatures are supposed to be. So no option should be such wherein they can remove one or two options just by saying कि ये तो नहीं ही होगा. I am sure that this has to be there. One funny way in how we term them in our institution or in our organization is we say that कोई भी question ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए जिसमें KBC का 50-50 ऑप्शन लग सके. अगर वो लग पा रहा है that means it's not a good question. All the options should be such that the child should have to actually think and answer each and every question. So this is what a question looks like. This is a sample question for all of you. Roma has 3 balls, all are of equal weight. The sizes of 3 balls are shown below. If ball 2 sinks in water, which of these balls will definitely sink in water? As you can see, all these are the options. Which of this will be the stem? If anybody can tell me, please unmute yourself and you can tell me इस particular scenario में stem कौन सा होगा? Do we have any male members in the group? I am seeing a lot of participation from the female side. Any male members in the group? No male members. Vinayak sir, yes, if you can help me understand, which will be the stem in this particular question?
Can you please repeat the question, sir?
We before this, Vinayak sir, discussed that what are the parts of a question,
Yes.
wherein we discussed that there are 4 parts to an MCQ question. One is the stem. The second is the options. The options are further bifurcated into the correct answer or the key and the distractors.
Okay.
In this scenario, what as per you should be the stem or would be the stem?
If the ball is somewhere.
Sir, for everyone, whoever has a confusion in this concept, 4 parts है. Options आपके सामने है. Answer and options में से होना है. Distractors we discussed are options which are close to each other. What is left? The question basically. The parts of the question, the images, everything else, everything that is included or everything else that is remaining apart from the options is called a stem. Clear, everyone? So, Vinayak sir, clear?
Yes. I think the C is the option, sir.
Perfect. We'll come to the answer later. I'm sure आपको answer तो पता ही होगा. The question over here is not the answer. It's to figure out what is the stem. So over here, what is the stem? The question, the image that is used. All of this is a part of the stem. Sorry. Teachers, friends, I know that everyone is very curious to answer these questions. We'll come to that part later. इसका answer नहीं चाहिए. We are here to understand how to make these kind of questions, not answer these questions. So let's focus on that rather than answering the questions. Okay. So this is what the stem will be. The answer is that only ball 1 will sink along with ball 2. Ball 3 will not sink, and that's why these 3 are distractors. Okay.
So
Now
the whole question itself is stem.
Yes, ma'am. The whole question will be termed as stemmed or is termed as stems in technical terms. If the question includes an image, if the question includes a graph, all of that will also be a part of the stem, like you can see over here. The other 4 options are divided into 2 parts. One is what the correct answer will be, which is called the key. The other three options, which as per the general practice and as per the guidelines should be very close to the answer, are called distractors. Why are they called distractors? Because their aim is to distract the student. His aim is to, so that the student focuses on each and every option to find out what the correct answer is. The correct answer should not be direct, it shouldn't just be a given. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Moving forward, we generally now discussed why are MCQs important, what are good questions. We'll now discuss some tips and tricks for making these MCQ questions. Some of these tips and tricks are common with the free response questions as well. So all of y'all who had attended the first session, for y'all this should be very easy. So I will expect a lot of answers from all of you. Let's try and help the people who are joining for the first time to understand what these tips and tricks are and how to include them in our questions. So first, for all of you, the question is in front of you. I don't want the answer. I want everyone to first read the question and understand that is this a normal question? Do you see this every day? Or is this a little different? If it's a little different, what is the difference that you're noticing? Is this a good question? Is this a bad question? पहले तो ये बताओ चलो.
Sir, I think it's a bad question.
Okay, it's a bad question. Anybody who thinks it's a good question? Ma'am, why do you think it's a bad question?
Sir, the options are so close, it will students will definitely find it difficult to find out the correct answer.
Okay. Okay, I'll answer. I'll give you an explanation to why it's put like that towards the end of the when we're discussing the answer. Anyone else? Is it a good question? Is it a bad question?
And I believe that even the diagram which is given, even I don't like. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I don't find it clear as per the question related to it.
Okay. So keeping the diagram aside, just assume that the diagram is good enough. Yet, I think because it's copy pasted from somewhere else, the resolution might have changed a little. Focusing on the question. किसी को नहीं लगता अच्छा क्वेश्चन और एक ही टीचर को लगता है कि बुरा क्वेश्चन है. Guys, we've discussed all of this in the first session. Okay, let's put it this way. What is this question actually trying to assess? क्या समझना चाह रहा है? बच्चों से क्या समझाना चाह रहा है? What should the student know to answer this question?
Sir,
Please.
The student should know the Eastern and Western Hemisphere, the international timeline.
Right. You should also understand the tilt of the Earth's axis.
The axis of the Earth.
Right. The axis of the Earth, the longitude, latitude. And he should also understand that in which month is the Earth tilted towards the left-hand side. In which month the Earth is tilted towards the left-hand side and in which month it's tilted towards the right-hand side.
The right-hand side. In December, where it will be summer. Basically, that kind of understanding. And sir, also the very basic concept that the very first thing that the Earth rotates from west towards east.
Precisely. So, just like what ma'am currently mentioned, in this one question for everyone, we've checked and assessed so many skills of the student. We've checked whether he understands longitude, latitude, whether he understands the month in which the Earth is tilted. He understands the concept of the Earth tilted towards the left-hand side. All these questions, he understands west and east, when is the Earth tilted towards the west, when it's towards the east. All of this is given in one particular question. to answer what we earlier got, that why it could be a bad question is that because the options are so close to each other, the students will get confused. Ma'am, that is exactly what a good multiple choice question would do. If you open any competitive exam paper, you see a GMAT book, you see a NEET book, anything, you'll see that all the questions over there are in this format only. And this is what slowly, gradually, we have to start training our students for. So this question requires the knowledge of the fact that sun rises, earth tilt, month, which month is in India. They need to have the exact understanding to determine the time and date when the picture may have taken. And that is why it's not me who's saying that this question is a good question, but this is what CBSE had put up on their website to ask the schools that, this is a question you should go and ask your students. And only if they're able to answer it means that what you're doing is not testing their facts, but you're actually testing concepts. So one thing which we need to make sure when we are drafting a good multiple choice question is we have to test understanding of concepts and not facts. तो हमने बुक में ये पढ़ा दिया या बच्चों ने ये पढ़ दिया that this is a longitude and this is a latitude. Asking a question very simply as to is whether the straight line a longitude or latitude is a recall of fact, and it is not an understanding or concept. We need to check if whether the child has actually understood the concept or no, for which we have to increase our horizon. हमें थोड़ी सी मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी और इस तरीके के क्वेश्चंस ड्राफ्ट करने की शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी, वेयर ऐसे क्वेश्चंस जिनका डायरेक्टली गूगल पे जवाब ना मिल जाए या टेक्स्ट बुक के पेजेस पलट के आंसर नहीं मिल जाए, ऐसे क्वेश्चंस नहीं होने चाहिए. Students should have to actually think and only then answer, and only then will a question be a good question. So the first thing that we have to take care of while drafting a good question is we need to make sure that the questions check the understanding of concepts and not the recall of facts. We discussed this when we were doing the free response questions as well, when we were doing our first we did our first session as well, wherein we need to make sure that answers directly textbook से उठा सके ऐसे नहीं होने चाहिए. They should have understanding of concept. Any doubts, any confusion so far? Yes, no, don't know. Yes, no, don't know. Should I proceed ahead? Okay, no doubt. I'll take the silence as no doubt and I'll move ahead. So, a simpler way to ask this question could be, what is the angle of the Earth's tilt? Very simple. But because we want to check their concepts, we are trying and changing the question. Now, let's go to the second question. Again, this is something that we had discussed in the first session. There are two questions in front of you, question 2 and question 3. Please look at both the questions. Tell me as per you, कौन सा question अच्छा है, कौन सा खराब है, अगर खराब है तो क्यों खराब है? Teachers, I would need more participation and engagement from all of you. Please read the question and try and find out that amongst both the questions, कौन सा question आप अपने एग्जाम पेपर में इंक्लूड करते और क्यों?
So the sample question 3 is better than question 2, what I feel.
Okay, bye.
So question 2 is again, it checks your memory. This is again my what I feel, sir.
Okay.
Like you need to remember memory and all. You need to remember when was it first seen. Whereas question 3 is not remembrance. You need to understand what are antibiotics. So if you have understood the thing when your teacher taught you or when you read it, so you can easily identify and correct check the correct option. But question 2, you cannot do that. You need to understand. That is very fact based.
Okay. Anybody else? Ma'am, that's an amazing input. Anybody else who would want to give a try?
Yes, sir. May I?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, Smriti here. Sir, if we see the question 2 here, in question 2 only fact is there. Child will able to search it. That where was the Minamata disease first seen? It is in Japan, Kumamoto. That is the town. But in question 2, if we see here, concept knowledge is very important. If the child know the concept, then only he will or she will be able to answer that question.
Perfect, ma'am. Bang on. So conceptual knowledge is important. First question basically just focuses on a fact which can be looked up in the textbook or anywhere else. We have some options. We have some answers on the chat as well. First one is close end question. Okay. The second is also a closed ended question as such, but okay. Sample question 3 is better compared to the regular question, while second is a competency based questions. Okay, both the questions can be termed as competency based questions. Okay, so exactly, we are trying to test core learning and not peripheral facts. Again, this is something that we discussed during the first session. What is core learning? Core learning is when we are teaching in the classroom, we have lesson outcomes which are written on the top of our lesson plan, correct? We want that at the end of the lesson, at the end of the 40 minutes in our classroom, those outcomes should be achieved. That is what your core learning is. So knowing the name of XYZ is never a part of your core learning. It's always an add-on, or it's always an extension of your core learning. Your core learning will only include concepts and not facts. Facts are a part of your core learning, not what your core learning should be. So, exactly why we discussed that question 3 is better, or the second question that you could see on the screen was better, because the first question does not have any implication of any conceptual understanding. It doesn't also shows the student's ability to learn any concept. Question 3, on the other hand, which we saw as the second question, it checks the student's ability to recall. So student has learned कि antibiotics ऐसा ऐसा होता है, teacher ने पढ़ाया था. He's being able to recall. And if you go through the distractors also over here, or the options also, the options are also very close to each other, wherein you'll see that to answer this question, the student should be ultimately thorough with what the correct answer should be. So promote the growth of antibiotics, cover the body cells so that bacteria does not attack them, kill the desired bacteria but not the body cells. So no option can be just voted out just by general understanding. For most of us who are not science teachers, answering this question would be difficult for us as well. Because what does an antibiotic do? For us, it does all of them. Only if you have read this concept in detail will you be able to answer this question. So there is what we have to try and do through our questions. So test core learning and not facts. So far we've discussed two skills, that we need to test core learning and not facts, and we need to test understanding of concepts and not facts. They are similar to each other in nature, and that's why we put them together. Both the skills are trying to put forward the same message, that don't test skills or try not to test skills which only talk about facts and numbers. Now, for all of us over here, when I say that we should avoid using these questions, a question like this for example, क्या इन्हें बिल्कुल भी इंक्लूड नहीं करना चाहिए कि कुछ थोड़ा बहुत इंक्लूड करना चाहिए? When we see a question which talks on facts, Like for example, this question that we see over here, should we totally remove them from our question papers, or should we include some parts and parcels of it? If we should include some parts and parcels, then why we should include? And we've seen a lot of answers from Pradhan ma'am, Pallavi ma'am, Vandana ma'am also, Archana ma'am. If others also can now participate, please. We have more than 130 teachers on the call. Getting answers from 5-6 people is not enough. Okay, Chaitali ma'am, Pragya ma'am, I'm seeing new names now. Chaitali ma'am, क्यों include करना चाहिए ये type of questions? Pragya Pandey ma'am, why should we include these type of questions? क्यों जरूरी है?
Sir, I guess this is somewhat related to remembering when we are talking about Bloom's taxonomy.
Yes.
So, if it is a part of it, that can be the reason.
Okay. Anyone else? I think there was somebody else speaking and वो बात करते हुए रुक गए. Anyone else who was speaking? Remembering is also an important part of cognition. Exactly. So, remembering also is an important part for students. They need to remember certain facts, they need to remember names of people, names of countries, dates in history are very important. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So dates are important, names of people are important. So yes, we should have these kind of questions as well. But slowly and gradually we should try and reduce the number or the weightage of direct questions and focus more on conceptual questions. So for classes 5 and below, we can, if we are setting up a, let's just assume हम एक revision test दे रहे हैं बच्चों को. So in a 10-mark revision test, 4 marks should be direct questions, 6 marks should be these kind of questions. In classes 6th and above, you can do a 30-70 ratio where 3 questions are like that and 7 questions are like that. In your revision tests. Periodic tests, I'm sure you have a structure in place. Let's not confuse. Let's follow that for this year. But revision tests, classroom tests, assessments, worksheets, try and include a blend of both. तो बच्चा एग्जैक्टली ब्लूम्स के कौन से लेवल पे वीक है, क्या वो सिर्फ रिमेंबर कर पा रहा है, क्या वो अप्लाई कर पा रहा है, क्या वो इवेल्युएट कर पा रहा है, where is he exactly standing, he or she exactly standing, we'll be able to figure out if we start including a blend of these questions. Quickly moving up ahead in interest of time. Again, one question in front of you. Simple question, class 4, I believe, class 5, I believe. Which question is a better question and why? I'll want to see new people answering now. This is an engagement session. This is not for me and 5-6 people who are there on the call who are answering. So new people, please start answering. I want responses from everyone. Please unmute yourselves, read the question, unmute yourself and tell me which question is better and why.
I think question number, hello, this is Amit Shrivastava.
Yes,
I
Amit,
think
sir.
question number 5 is better because this question gives us concept of the gravitational field of the moon also.
Okay.
This is my point of view.
Okay, Amit, that's a very good answer, Amit sir. Sir, you should answer more often.
Sure, sir.
So I think yes, in question number 5, we are trying to test more than one skill, which is apart from just the gravitational pull of the moon. We're also trying and seeing if whether the students understand the relation between the moon and the earth, if whether how the flow will be. So we're seeing that as well. It's just not a trivial fact that we're checking. Anything else which you like about this kind of a question number 5? Apart from the fact that it's contextual, वो हमने सीख लिया कि fact नहीं होना चाहिए, contextual होना चाहिए. Apart from that, what other thing is unique about this kind of question?
Sir, it seems the question number The question number 5 also has distractors because it doesn't only give the option that whether it will float away, it will also gives an option like float where it is, or float towards the earth. So
Right.
that can be a bit distractive, and that makes it a good question.
Right. So distractor, ma'am, like we discussed, should be a part of each and every question. Whether it's a easy question, whether it's a factual question, or whether it's a conceptual question, we should try that distractors are a part of each and every question. That is what the norm is. अगर आप कोई भी गाइडलाइन देखेंगे, इंटरनेट पे जाके सर्च करेंगे कि एमसीक्यू क्वेश्चन कैसे बनता है, तो उसमें आपको ये बताया जाएगा कि स्टेम विच इज द क्वेश्चन और ऑप्शंस के अलावा ऑप्शंस में की और डिस्ट्रैक्टर्स होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. So distractors are a part of each and every question. But I get what you're trying to say, that apart from the distractors, these distractors are very close to each other. So the student will have to exactly know where the skill is. Anything else which you see that is a good thing about this?
Sir, I think this is Pooja from Hinjawadi.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think it is a very visualizing question. When I read it, I visualize myself holding a pen. So it adds that visual effect, or forces me to envisage something that and maybe come with a creative answer. It could be misleading, but yes, it helps for a visualization.
Okay. Okay. The answer visualizes. Pooja ma'am, have you seen this kind of question before in the student's textbook, in
Yes.
their worksheets?
Yes, sir.
This kind of a question?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. So what we have to now try and do is, question number 4 is more prominent in the textbook. You'll see that each and every textbook के पीछे वाले जो questions है, there you'll see these kind of questions included. However, in these kind of questions, you'll see that they're majorly not part of each and every textbook that we have. So what we have to try and do, we have to start using questions that are unfamiliar, which are questions which we have not seen or the students have not seen before, and they are unfamiliar in either the way they are framed or either in their context. So in this particular question, they are unfamiliar in the way that the question has been framed, because the concept is something that the student knows. But usually students have these habits, tuition teachers have these habits that जो भी पीछे के questions है सब रटवा देते हैं. They'll have a practice book through which worksheets through which they'll make sure that the student rote learns or mugs up all the questions. So when you're drafting a question and you want it to be a good MCQ, ensure that it's a little unseen or unfamiliar. अब I'm sure most of us are thinking कि ऐसे questions कैसे बना लेंगे, it's difficult. There are a lot of free worksheets, questions, sample question, it's available on the CBSE website, which have been created by EI. I'll be sharing the link of that with all of us. For higher classes, we can download that. For lower classes also, I'll be sharing a link which will have these kind of unfamiliar questions for all our classes. Try including these questions in our day-to-day teaching and see as to how the students are responding. Next time when we meet, hopefully next month, we'll see and we'll take your responses as to how the students were responding. I'll be sharing these links with all of you. This is an explanation of the same. I'm not going too much into detail. Another important aspect that we need to keep in mind is test what is intended to be tested. What do we mean by when we say that test what is intended to be tested? Whenever you go and you teach in your class, there is a certain set of objectives that you have in place, that the student by the end of the session should know A, B, C, D. For most of us, it's mentioned on the lesson plan also, which the school takes a lot of time and effort in creating and it shares with all of you. So when we say that the student's desired objective which we want to achieve should be assessed, it comes in without interference from all the other objectives that are. That validates the question, the content that the question is talking about. That basically tells you that where exactly what we are testing, whether it is a part of what is a part of the syllabus or whether it's not. So for example, going into a classroom or adding this question for a class 3 child who's just learned about what a moon is, for example, would it be relevant? No. Because what we're trying to explain over here, he's only understood about the moon. He doesn't know what gravity is. He knows what gravity is also, chalo. But he doesn't understand that the moon has a separate gravitational pull, and the gravitational pull will react in a certain way or work in a certain way. So asking that student where his objective was to only understand what the moon is probably not relevant. However, where the objective is that the student should understand the moon's gravitational pull, if that is the objective, and then we are testing or asking this kind of question, only then it holds relevance. So test what is intended to be tested. Two questions in front of you. Same question, only the options are different. Which, as per you, is a good question? Quickly, guys, we're running out of time. It's already almost 6 o'clock. Anybody, maths teacher? Two options in front of you, two questions in front of you.
So both the questions are same.
Yes, only the options are different.
Sir, I think question 1 is better question, because here the child will have to convert centimeter into meter and then find out the relation and give the exact answer.
Okay. Okay, anybody else?
Yes, I think question
Yes,
number
sir,
one is it checks the magnitude as well as unit also, conversion of unit. So question number 1 is better one.
Okay.
So may I?
Yes, please.
I think it depends on the age group. I mean, if it is a higher age group, then conversion won't be it should be given then.
Correct. So I'll go with everyone's answer was correct, but I'll stick to what Vrunda ma'am said, that because we're trying to test what is only intended to test, what is a better question depends on what our learning objectives are, or like what Vrunda ma'am said, what is the age group. So if our learning outcome, for example, is that the student should by the end of the lesson be able to convert meters into centimeters and centimeters into millimeters also, then the first question is amazing. However, if the objective is that he should only be able to understand or divide the said meter by 10, which is more practical in the second option, whether he should he understands the decimal value, if that is what our objective is in option number 2, like we see in the question number 2, then the second question that we see is more relevant. So whenever you're drafting your question paper, whenever you're drafting your class assessments, please keep your objectives with you. Once the lesson objectives are clearer and in front of you, it becomes easier for us to ensure that which question should be asked basis what. Okay. Very quickly. Next question. The below figure gives us some years of important inventions in the field of transport. Which of the inventions was made 70 years after the invention of bicycle, but more than 50 years before the invention of the space shuttle? So basically what we're trying to do over here is we're saying that what was made 70 years after the bicycle and 50 years before the space shuttle. If we do the math, which I'm not spending too much time on right now in interest of time, you'll figure out that the answer comes to the diesel engine, but it's somewhere between like 1859 and 1893. So it's very confusing for the student to answer this particular question because the options are vague, or the calculation that the student has to do is very vague. So whenever we are framing questions, try to frame them in an unambiguous and technically correct way. It's not necessary for the questions to be confusing. This is a confusing question because if we do the math, somewhere around 1859 and 1893 is where the answer should be. However, because there is no particular invention that happened over here, it's very confusing for the students to answer. So please, when we are drafting your questions, especially when they are multiple choice questions, please make sure that they are focused on to what we are trying to ask. So they should be technically correct and they should not be unambiguous. This is again, and this is a question which you're seeing over here, guys. This is a question, it's a very interesting story behind this. If anyone happens to read this, in Mumbai, I think 10 years back, the Dhirubhai Ambani school was setting up, the Ambani school. Now, when the inception of the school was laid down, they got in touch with us, which is our company, which is Education Initiative, and they asked us to create a question paper for them, which will be used as an admission test. This question is taken from that admission test because most of the students came back and said that we answered this correct, yet we've got an incorrect answer. Now, if you see closely, the question that is over here is Honda has developed a car. A tiny camera by the rear view mirror scans the white lines and marks out the road lanes and helps to keep the car in between. So focus on this line. A tiny camera by the rear view mirror scans the white lines and marks out road lanes to help keep the car in between. The options that were here did not directly mention what the rear view mirror would do. So most of the students answered it incorrectly, saying that they would steer the car with the prescribed lane because they forgot or they did not read the part that a tiny camera by the rear view mirror. So what does this read? Rear view mirror. What does this read? A tiny camera by the rear view mirror. Just because of this one confusion which came up, most of the students got confused and they answered it incorrect. Now, should these kind of questions be included in your question paper? Yes, no, don't know.
Again, sir, I think it depends on the learning objectives. I mean,
exactly. So if we are only wanting to test them for if whether or not they've read the question properly, which I'm sure is not any of our objectives that we have to cover in our syllabus, then this question should be avoided. If we just want to check if whether or not the students are reading the question properly, then these kind of questions should be included. So when we always, when we ask multiple choice questions as teachers, we have this doubt in mind that बच्चे question पढ़ नहीं रहे, वो randomly answer कर दे रहे. When we have these kind of doubts, to force the student to read the question is where these kind of questions help. Apart from that, you should avoid using this kind of.
So best for comprehension passages, I guess, where children generally try to find the answers first. They read the question and then try to find the answers without reading the passage.
Precisely. So that is one place where we should be a little more aware of. When we are also drafting our MCQs, I'll just take another 5 minutes. I know I have exceeded by just a little. I'll take another 5 minutes and then we should be done. So while drafting our question, we should also be sure to test alternative conceptions, misconceptions, and student errors. So this is a very interesting question, which when first somebody asked me, I also answered it wrong. And we tried this with a group of, my team, and most of them answered it wrong. Which as per you should be the correct option? Teachers, very quickly.
all.
Sorry?
So C, 1 and 2.
Okay, C, 1 and 2.
Achha, sorry.
1 and 2.
C. C. It's option C, only one entity.
Sir, it's option A, only one.
Yes, option A is correct.
Okay. Now, this is something which even I didn't know till very recently, that plants use carbon dioxide and release oxygen only during photosynthesis. As a part of their respiration process, they also, just like humans or other animals, will take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. So, the fact that plants will take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen happens only during the process of photosynthesis. Because the question over here clearly asks which are the following examples of respiration, second option doesn't lie down and only the first answer. Now, when I'm asking this question, what I'm trying to say is not that कि हमें science नहीं आती या we as teachers don't know. No, it's that when you ask these kind of questions, which are usually misconceptions that we know that the students would have. How can we know this? Through our experience A, through the misconception document which is shared by CBSE, which I'm sure all of you have. If you don't have, I'll be happy to share it again. And see, as I went through some of our lesson plans also mention some misconceptions as well. So just to check whether or not our students have actually understood the concept, they've read thoroughly, try and include more of these misconception type questions also in the classroom. This is again another example which is there. I'm not going in detail in the interest of time, but it just basically says that दही का एक पैकेट है, एक ज्यादा फूला हुआ है, एक कम फूला हुआ है. जो कम फूला हुआ है उसे 2 दिन से फ्रिज में रखा हुआ था, इसीलिए वो कम फूला हुआ है, वो फुस हो गया. This is something which I'm sure all of us see in our day-to-day lives also. Which of them will be heavier, or which will have a more weight? This is what the question was. And to confuse the students or to actually check the concept of the students, we've mentioned the concept of temperature also. So the packet which was left undisturbed was kept at room temperature only for 2 days. What will be the weight of it after 2 days? Is it heavier? Is it lighter? Now, ideally, if it's 1 kg packet of yogurt, it will be the same after whatsoever time, after 2 days of keeping in the fridge as well. But this is something that we're trying to check. So try and use real life, authentic context instead of contrived. Other basic guidelines, which I'm sure all of us know, but just to add on as a part of the session, please, when you're using any data, graphs, maps, use authentic data and authentic information. There are a lot of news channels, there are a lot of YouTube channels now which are being criticized only because the map that they showed as a reference was inappropriate. So whenever we are using any data, make sure that it is correct data, it is accurate data. Ensure that somebody has cross-checked it and only then you're putting it in a question. Please make sure that it is age appropriate, the context as well as the language. Just by using difficult and fancy new English terms, the question does not become difficult. To make the question conceptual based, try using all the tips that we discussed today and you'll start seeing the change. Use stimulus material as and when needed to test higher order thinking skills. Reference material as and when needed, you can start using to test this. This is just a summary of all that we discussed today. Very quickly, test understanding of concepts, not facts. Test core learning. Use unfamiliar context. Test what is intended to be tested. So ensure that your questions are made as per your objectives only. Frame the questions in an unambiguous and technically correct way. The questions should not be confusing for the students. They should be conceptual. The language that is used should not be difficult just for the sake of it, but make sure that the words that you're using, students should be able to understand and relate to it. Test alternate and specific concepts, misconceptions and student errors. To find these misconceptions apart from your experience, it is totally okay to refer to all the other data that CBSE has put up on their website. I'll be sharing the links of them with all of you. Use real life context, use the data, the maps that you're using. Please make sure that they are correct and authentic, and use age appropriate content. These are some good practices that we should keep in mind while we are drafting a question as to how the numbers should be placed, whether we should use ABC in numbering or 1, 2, 3 while we are numbering. I'll share this with all of you. Please go through the same. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me as to how or why this should happen. With this, we end the session for today on why MCQs are important and guidelines on how to draft a good quality MCQ. I hope it was helpful to some of you. It was like a refresher for some of us who've already learned free response questions and how to draft them. Going forward, I'll be sharing an assignment link with all of you. We'll try and draft one good multiple choice question over the next 3 days. So by Tuesday, I'll expect and revert from all of you that let's try and draft a sample question. After that, I'll be sharing a repository of more multiple choice questions, which all of you can start using in your classrooms, in your question papers, in your worksheets, and then let's see how it goes ahead. Thank you so much for all your time. If anybody has questions, we can please stay back. If anybody, there are no questions, please feel free to leave. Chaitali ma'am, I think you had a question. You can please feel free to ask. If there are no questions, you can please feel free to leave.
Thank you so much, Himanshu. It was really very informative. We all have learned a lot today. If anyone has a question, please stay back. And the feedback form will be shared in the subject groups.
Ma'am, I don't have a question. I just wanted to share. Good evening, Namaste. My name is Brunda. I just wanted to share that the questions are so interesting. I mean, I just felt that if these kind of questions were during my times, I would have enjoyed giving exams. So that is the thought I came up with. Thank you.
I totally agree, Vrinda ma'am.
Thank you, Vrinda ma'am. We're trying to ensure that if not as a student but as a teacher, we get exposure to a lot of these kind of questions, wherein the burden of creating these kind of questions doesn't come down on the teacher. But however, whether we're creating them or not, understanding the crux of them and knowing the science or the logic behind them is very important, and that's why we're trying to have these sessions to ensure that everyone understands why are we actually doing this, why is a competency based question important. Because more than teachers, tomorrow if a parent comes up to us and tells us कि आप क्यों MCQ questions दे रहे हो, ये तो easy होते हैं, आपको तो subjective questions देने चाहिए, we as a teacher should be able to tell them that this is why it's important, and it's not us as a school who've taken this decision, but it's CBSE who's saying that we should do this. So thank you so much for the feedback, ma'am, and we'll see how we can.
Sir,
make them
I wanted to
available
ask
us.
one more thing. So, are there any AI tools which help us to create these? Like you said, that the teachers might get burdened. So, suppose I might have many ideas about creating these questions, but like, are there any AI tools or anything which will help me to copy paste the pictures or put it in the correct format or something like that?
Ma'am, no. So to copy paste and put them in the correct format, currently, no. There is no as such AI tool which will help you. Also, what I
Vrunda
would
ma'am,
suggest
Aarti
is
Pathak will teach you how to work on this.
Okay, sir.
right.
Thank
So,
you.
so to add on, ma'am, I think rather than creating these kind of questions through AI, we should try and create these questions on our own at our individual level to check whether or not they're age appropriate and to improve or adjust the language. There, I think we can use Chat GPT, where it enhances our question. But I think creation, because no AI tool guarantees the age appropriateness, we'll have to create them at our own level itself.
No, sir. Actually, I meant the formatting. I framed it the wrong way. So, obviously, as teachers, I mean, we get the ideas about the age appropriate questions, but then, like, your questions are so well framed with the pictures and everything. So, for that, I was asking. Anyways, Aarti ma'am said we can do.
So nothing that has come across so far, ma'am. But if yes, I come across something, I'll be happy to share it with everyone.
And after the assignment, Himanshu is anyways, Vrinda, I'm going to share a resource with us for the classrooms.
Right.
Right?
Okay, great.
So I had a question. I wanted to know that can we include MCQ's question more in return work? Like, should we do that also? Is it
Ma'am,
correct or wrong? Actually, I did not understand that.
Ma'am, so currently, no. I would suggest it to include more in your classroom discussions as of now, or in your worksheets. In written questions, when you're asking, if you're giving it in the notebook, basically it's so much for the student to copy and write down. So writing down all the
Very
questions and writing down all the options is basically wasting a lot of the students' time as well as our classroom teaching time. So if you are giving a worksheet, which is, let's say, a sample test paper or a class test where you're printing it, then it makes sense. Or if there is a way where we can display these questions in the classroom where the students are to answer it there and there, then it makes sense using MCQs. Giving it in the notebook, I would not advise.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, if we have a question. Shushmita, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for the session.